Let you stand for the reading of the Gospel. The Holy Gospel is from Matthew, the 17th chapter, verses 1 through 9, and that's on 983 in your worship Bible. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. And Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elijah." And while he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my Son, whom I love, and I am well pleased. Listen to him." And when the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Do not be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. And as they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The Gospel of our Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Please be seated. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we know today that your word is a living word for us. As it comes to our ears, as we hear it, it speaks to our hearts. And out of our heart, then we respond with joy and love for others. So bless us this day, Lord, with this word. In your name we pray. Amen. It's hard for us as human beings to imagine or to ponder what it must have been like to be there with Peter, James, and John, and Jesus. It's hard for us to imagine, but it had to be quite a scene. It had to be a rather miraculous God moment, if you will, up on top of that mountain when Jesus was transfigured, when he was literally changed as the humanness of Jesus was revealed in his divine nature and power. He was seen in all his glory, shining face like the sun, and his dazzling clothes as well, filled with light. Anytime this happens within Scripture, there's a similar description of those God moments, of those transfigurations. Moses came down from the mountain with the 10 Commandments. Daniel had these angels of dazzling light appear to him. The scenes, descriptions of Revelation in the New Testament have that similar nature of bright light, dazzling light, and just this glow about it all, and coming out of a cloud. Not only did all that happen, but also the greatest of the prophets of the Old Testament, the people who were the heroes of the Bible to the Israelites, Moses and Elijah, appeared on that mountain as well and were talking with Jesus. What a scene that must have been. What a moment that was to experience. There was a feeling, I believe, of awe and wonder at what they were seeing and experiencing. Now, how many of you have had what we sometimes call a mountaintop experience? Anybody had that kind of, just kind of halfway to a Lutheran, raise your hand just like this. Yeah. A mountaintop experience. It doesn't have to be necessarily a God moment, but it's a revelation in that moment of what we are seeing is so incredible and so wonderful. We're just awestruck by it. Sometimes it's a God moment where we look at what's happening with eyes that seem to reveal that this is something outside the ordinary. This could not have happened on its own. The circumstances are such that only this could be God's good work in and amongst us. And again, we're filled with awe and wonder at what this is. Very few words can describe what it is that we're experiencing. Now, there's different ones in my life, I know, as I have had those experiences as well. There is a road, a highway, a two-lane, narrow highway out in Montana, Glacier National Park. It's called the Road to the Sun. Anyone driven that road? You? Oh, sure. You know what I'm talking about, right? Very narrow, two-lane highway. And as you are going up, you are headed up and around these cliffs. And basically, if you're on the passenger side, right, you test this? You're looking right down the cliff, right? And you can't move over any further because, it's traffic, etc. But once you get up, you keep going up, 6,000 some feet high above sea level. Once you get up, there's a sign that says Scenic Overlook. It should be in all caps with exclamation marks. Because once you get up there and you see that, you are looking out on the majesty of creation that God put before us. For those who believe that God did all that, we're in awe. We're in a moment. Things are changed before us because what we realize is what God has done. Well, there's some of that happening today. We wanted to stay at that scenic overlook and watch that sunset take place and the beauty that was all around us. But that's the problem, isn't it, of mountaintop experiences. You can't just stay there forever. So it was with Jesus and the disciples today. They couldn't stay on the mountain. But Peter did what most human beings want to do. They want to hold on to those God moments. They want to hold on to those transfiguration moments. And they hold on to it. And Peter, he says, Lord, excuse me. And it's kind of interesting. And you don't quite get this. And you read it a couple of times. You go, Peter is really interrupting a divine conversation between Jesus, Moses, and Elijah. I mean, who would butt in on such a thing? The answer? Peter. The guy who gets out of the boat, tries to walk up the water. So he's literally, interrupting this conversation. He says, Jesus, can we build for the three of you a tent or a tabernacle or a shelter, a place for you to be, so that we can stay longer? I mean, he doesn't say that part, but the intent is that we can hold on to this moment. What happens next, huh? The cloud comes down around all of them, and God speaks. So if Peter is interrupting Jesus and Elijah and Moses, God interrupts Peter. Isn't that something? God interrupts Peter. And I don't know about you, but I'm thinking, if God interrupts something, you should be listening. And he does. And God interrupts into that moment. And it's so interesting what he says, because what he says is the very same thing that he said at Jesus' baptism by John the Baptist. He said, "This is my son." He's establishing a relationship here that Jesus is the Son of God, right? And he says, "Whom I love." And that this relationship is not, business-like or anything else. This is a relationship that is a family. This is a father's love for his son, whom I love. And then he adds on, with whom I am well pleased. And then they throw on the little kicker. Listen to him. Now we don't know the inflection, right? It could be a very soft listen to him. Or if it's David who was up there, myself, listen to him, will you? That's the problem. We get caught up in those moments and we forget that it isn't about holding on or trying to stay, but it's listening to Jesus. So for your life today, that's what we've got to get down to, your life today. I want you to think about how it is that in the busyness of all that we do, in the moments where you might be confused and uncertain about what should be done, with both thousands of voices around the world and television and everything else telling you what to do, know this, that God interrupts. And when God interrupts, you need to listen. Because as God speaks today to you through this word, he affirms that Jesus is not only a son of man, human being, but he is also God in flesh and divine. And not only that, but we should listen to Jesus. Not a bad word for us to take home. We need to be interrupted occasionally. We need to be reminded of who we should be listening to and focus in on what it is that Jesus is saying to us today. Now there's a song that is troublesome to me. I know it's true, but it just annoys me. It's Psalm 46:10, if you want to look it up sometime, but Psalm 46:10. The first verse of it is, "Be still and know that I am God." My nature, and I think I'm not unlike most people, is that I want to fill every moment with something. If there's silence, I want to say something. I want to fill that moment. And I think it's so important for us in a world that is overwhelmed by messages, overwhelmed by sounds, that we find time to be still and listen to God. Listen to the voice of Jesus in our lives. The last thing he says to us out of this scripture today, as they're walking back down the mountain, can you imagine what they were thinking about? They're never going to believe this when we get back and tell the others. They fell to their faces to the ground over the awe that they experienced. They were silenced. Right? Jesus comes and touches them and says, "Get up." The word literally is "be raised." He's pointing off to a time, right, where his death on the cross and his being laid in the tomb will be raised from the dead. It says, "Be raised and get up." Right? Be raised and get up, because now it's the time to do something. And so from this moment on, we head towards the cross. In Lent, we head towards the empty tomb of Easter. And in that, it is good for us to be still and listen to what God is saying, that Jesus is the one who is speaking. And so as we take these next 40 days together, I encourage you to pause and listen. Jesus is speaking. During Lent, Wednesdays at Peace here at this church, we're going to be having a Lenten theme that I think you'll find quite interesting. It's called Life in His Hands. And that means how it is that we are in God's hands. The one who created us and shaped us and formed us and made us into who we are, holds us in all these things, and our being held by God's love in Jesus Christ helps us use our hands to serve others. And so on Ash Wednesday, we're going to talk about how it is that our hands are dirty, often dirty from daily life, and how it is that dirt is like sin, for which Jesus comes and offers us forgiveness. When we're marked with the sign of the cross on our forehead out of ash, we're reminded of our earthly nature. On March 8th, we're going to talk about how it is that God's hands heal us, how Jesus comes to bring healing to our lives. And then March 15th, we're going to talk about our hands that build up others, build up each other. And then 22nd, hands that mend, how it is that things are knit and sewn, literally, not figuratively, back together. Brokenness is restored. And then lastly, how it is that hands that sow, how we cast the seeds of the good news out. And for April 5th is hands that mold and shape. And so each of those nights we'll be looking at that as we journey together. And I encourage you to be a part of it. Worship, be still, and know that God is here and with you today. Amen? Amen. Stand if you would, and let's join in singing our song.